Okay, welcome to Safe for Work PMQs. Let's get right into it. Hello, everyone.
Proceedings are available.
Right, so it's the deputies today. It's Dominic Raab and Angela Rayner.
And to be a little bit quiet, I am aware that only those watching the British Sign Language interpretation will be able to hear what I was saying. We now come.
Yay, Graham. I forgot it was Wednesday, says Duke.
Prime Minister Sir Bill Wigan.
It's not the Prime Minister, it's the Dominic Raab, the bully.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Deputy Prime Minister. So the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition are away at Betty Boothroyd's funeral.
Friend, the Prime Minister, who is attending the funeral of Baroness Betty Boothroyd. I'm sure the whole House would want to join me in paying tribute to Baroness Boothroyd, the first female Speaker of the House, and our thoughts and prayers with the family.
First and only, I think.
I'm sure the whole House does join.
Nobody swear. Yeah, I want no swears in the comments either. This is Safe for Work PMQs. I've got a classy new logo.
Sir Bill Wigan.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Phosphates leaching into the River Wye could be stopped by proven phosphate stripping technology attached to anaerobic digesters.
What?
But Herefordshire Council's bypass-hating Green and Independent group won't support or engage despite a moratorium on house building. What can he do to save our river and remove the council from such a vital strategic and environmental
Tory talking about the nitrates in our rivers.
Prime Minister.
Well, most of the nitrates come from our
the River
sewage.
Wye obviously is of huge importance to nature. We're taking action to tackle pollution and raise
This
farmer
guy
standards.
has had 24 complaints against him.
Agencies,
24 complaints for bullying. I'll say that again, 24. One is too many. He's had 24, and he's still Deputy Prime Minister. Can you believe that? I guess he becomes Prime Minister automatically if Rishi Sunak carks it.
Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Angela Rayner.
Hey! Welcome, dead Angela.
Deputy Speaker, and welcome back into the chair. And can I share
no
the
swearing,
Deputy Prime Minister's words on our Baroness and our thoughts with her family today? And I'm sure the whole House will join me also in paying tribute to Paul O'Grady after his sad death was announced today. He was a national treasure and a true Northern star, and he will be greatly missed. Madam Deputy Speaker, this week the government announced their so-called anti-social behaviour policy. It's only taken 13 years. And look, I'll give him some credit. The Deputy Prime Minister knows firsthand the misery caused by thugs and their intimidating behaviour.
Oh, straight in there.
Menace, exploding in fits of rage, creating a culture of fear, and maybe even, I don't know, throwing things.
Yeah.
So can I ask him?
Starmer wouldn't have
Under
mentioned
his
this.
new
I like Angela.
anti-social behaviour,
Stick it to
does
him.
he think more bullies will be brought to justice?
Hey, more bullies like you rat bag.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I can reassure the House I've never called anyone scum.
Oh, have you? Have you not? Not all Tories. I want that on the record. Oh, it is on the record. Oh, I'd love it if he had to correct that.
But if the Right Honourable Lady is serious about standing up for communities and people who suffer at the scourge of antisocial behaviour, she'd back our plan to deal more swiftly with these issues.
Back
to
the
make sure
Tories'
that we ban
plan
drugs beyond
to
the conventional
ban
ones, give police the powers they
amyl
need.
nitrate?
And
No,
if they
not
really
Knox.
want
They've
to
got to ban
protect
Knox.
the public, they'll back our plans
And
for parole
stop
reform
beggars
to make sure
from
the
asking for
murderers,
money.
the terrorists,
We shouldn't
the
have any
child
beggars.
killers are not
If we
allowed
lived in a
out
fair
free
society, there
to
wouldn't be.
threaten other people and reintroduce the ministerial veto that side took away.
Thanks, Sam, for hey all. Love all your new stuff, Graham.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I'd like to see
Working
the
hard.
ministerial code being introduced and adhered to on that side of the House, because
Blah,
it's
blah,
not
blah,
just
back
his
our terrible
department where
plan, blah, blah,
antisocial
blah.
behaviour
Chief
is running
Vengeance,
out
love
of
it.
control. It's happening across the country. Police officers disappearing from our streets, replaced by criminals, plaguing our towns and leaving people feeling unsafe. The truth is that the
She grew up in Bridge Hall.
Conservatives are missing in
Yeah, she
action
does.
in the fight against crime. So can he tell his constituents and the public why, after 13 years
don't
of
row a
his
boat,
party
nick a
in
yacht.
government, there are
Seriously.
now 6,000 fewer neighbourhood police officers on Britain's streets?
Wow. It's almost as though the Tories don't give a...
Speaker, she really does have a brass neck because they voted against our funding of police recruitment.
Oh, right. Did they really?
What I will tell her and the whole House
What were you
is
telling
crime is lower than it was under the last Labour government.
Really?
Violent crime is halved.
What?
No,
that's nothing to do with you. That's a worldwide phenomenon, actually, about violent crime.
Wants to stand up for the public and the victims of crime, they should back our bill to protect victims and protect the most vulnerable from serious killers, rapists, and terrorists.
Serious killers, as opposed to joke killers.
Speaker, no one believes that there's more police on the
I'm going to
streets
kill you,
and
but
no
I'll tell you a
one
joke
feels
first.
safer. Neighbourhood policing has gone down and not up. Let's talk about crime. He knows as well as I do that neighbourhood police can help prevent antisocial behaviour and knife crime. Cool. But trusted local police are also crucial to protecting women. Women feel unsafe on Britain's streets, always looking over our shoulder as we hurry to our front door. So can he tell me, under his watch as Justice Secretary, what is the charge rate for rape?
Yes.
Can I address all of those elements of that? And first of all say that the issue of rape and serious sexual violence against women is one of our top priorities.
That's why it's 1%. It's back about doubling it from
she asked what we're doing about it.
To
Since
1%.
2019, police referrals of cases are doubled. CPS charges have doubled.
Cases,
She
and has anyone gone to jail for it?
Watch, what has happened?
Nothing.
The volume of convictions
1%.
in rape cases increased by 2/3. And
by
if she
2/3.
really wants to protect vulnerable women, whether it's rapists
it's now up to
or
1.66%.
they will back our parole reforms, which will mean ministers able to prevent them being released onto the public and cause more threats.
They'd love to do this.
He says that rape conviction has gone up. What he really means is that 300 women will be raped today, while he boasts about an increase of 0.5%. He hasn't answered my question, Madam Deputy Speaker, because he's too ashamed of the answer. 1.6% of rapists face being charged for their crime.
1.6%?
1.6%. Let that sink in. A woman goes through the worst experience of her life. She summons up the courage to relive that horrendous experience, to tell the police in detail about her assault. But she only has a 1.6% chance of action being taken. Over 98% of rapists will never see the inside of a courtroom, let alone a prison. And the rest of those brave women, Madam Deputy Speaker, they keep looking over their shoulders and hope the perpetrator doesn't choose tonight to take their revenge for reporting the incident to the police. In the last 13 years of the Tory government, more than 500,000 cases of rape have been recorded by the police. But the charge rate for those attacks have collapsed. He has served under 5 Tory Prime Ministers and had 3 years as Justice Minister. And on his watch, rapists are left to roam the streets.
Yes.
So will he apologise to those victims who will never get justice because of his failures?
It's improved by, he actually said it's improved by 2/3.
The conviction rate
1%
measured by the CPS, the leader of the Labour Party used to be in charge of the CPS. He might want to point this out. Well, actually, the conviction rate has gone up. It is now at 69%. We are doing much more to support.
What? No, it's not. Hey, whoa. Point of order.
They're talking
69. What the? Where did you just get that number from?
Funding for victims.
Where did you get that number from?
And if she looks at the
He just lied at the dispatch box. It's not 96%. What did he say? 69%?
To completion of a rape case has come down by 10 weeks or 70% in the last 3 months alone.
In the last 3 months. So your government was failing and now it's failing a little bit less. Well done.
Madam Deputy Speaker, he won't apologise for the government's failures on charge rates, and 69% of 1.6%. Is that really something to boast about?
So 1%.
Let me ask him about an issue which is directly his responsibility. On his watch, rape survivors are waiting on average more than 3 years for their cases to come to court. The Honourable Member talked about 10-week reduction. 3 years, Deputy Leader, 3 years, so 10 weeks is not anything to boast about. Those 3 years from the day of the assault to the final day of court, is it any wonder that from April till September last year, 175 trials for rape and other serious sexual offences have had to be dropped because the victim could no longer cope with the delay. Yeah. So let me ask him, when will he apologise to all those women denied justice because of his failure to sort the court backlog?
Yeah. Well, she ignores the impact on the court backlog of the pandemic or indeed the CBA strike. But let me tell her what we're doing.
What you doing?
Let me tell her what we're doing.
Go on, tell us what you're doing. Tell us all what you're doing.
Funding for victims
Sweet
since 2010.
FA, that's what you're doing.
Quadrupled the funding provided by the last
Be careful
Labour
there.
government.
Let's get out
We
the swear
launched
jar.
a 24/7 support line so that when those victims of that appalling crime come forward, they get the support they need. We've increased the number of independent sexual violence advisors to over 1,000.
The human version of a suppository.
That women that suffer this appalling crime can give pre-recorded evidence in court. We're doing everything that we can, and as I said, the rates are coming down, and we will keep taking action.
Yeah, I hate party politics as well.
If the Labour Party were
why
really
we
serious
should
about
have
this, they
politics
wouldn't
by
have voted
consensus.
against longer sentences for dangerous, violent and sexual offenders in the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Act, and she will get behind our Victims and Prisoner Bill today.
Angela Rayner.
Madam Deputy Speaker, not a word of apology, no sense of responsibility, and not even a shred of shame. Yeah. The reality is, while people in Britain feel more and more unsafe, he seems to spend all of his time trying to save his own job and none of his time on his actual job. And it's not just me that thinks so. The Prime Minister clearly doesn't trust him to deal with antisocial behaviour because he's given that job to the Levelling Up Secretary. The way things are going, and reports are to be believed, this might be your last PMQs. So let's look at the highlights. A criminal justice on its knees. The largest backlog on record.
Come on, go for it.
Victims waiting for justice.
Yes.
And through it all, he managed to rack up 24 formal complaints from his own civil servant.
24.
So can he say today, will he walk before he's pushed?
Hey! 24.
Madam
Can you believe
Speaker,
that?
one
24.
thing never changes. She always comes with the usual bluster and political opportunism.
This is the man who served under Boris Johnson. Oh, mate! Mate, what?
I've been doing this week. We've delivered
what have you been doing? Bullying
to
people,
support
probably.
The victims of
Probably
crime,
bullying
including
people.
rape, and to protect the public. We've delivered a plan to stamp out antisocial behaviour, and we've supported families with their energy
by
bills.
making something illegal.
What's she done? What have the Labour
Giving the
front
police
bench
more
done?
excuse to strip
They
search
tried
people.
to block our small boats bill, and
Yes,
that's the
because
difference
your
between
small boats
them
bill,
and us.
your small
We
boats
deliver
bill
for
is
Britain.
illegal.
She likes to play her political games.
Turnip. Is it Bob Dutchfoot Turnip? Oh, that was a terrible, terrible bit of political theatre from Dominic Raab. Terrible.
The Thames Freeport
He's not very good at
was
this.
recently given the final go-ahead to become fully operational, creating thousands of jobs and attracting millions in inward investment. Will my right honourable friend
So they're not getting any investment from anywhere else these days.
behind the bid and encourage businesses and investors from across the southeast, indeed across the world, to take a closer look at the fantastic opportunities that exist in Thurrock, and will he work with local education providers to ensure my constituents have the skills needed to take up these fantastic opportunities?
Can I thank my honourable friend? I certainly do support and pay tribute to all of those who have made the New Thames Freeport possible with its
that thing that's already going ahead. We're very happy about that thing that's already going ahead.
The local community and the wider community.
Well done to everyone who got that thing to go ahead that's going ahead.
And we'll see how these plans progress. And again, I think it's good news to see the communities in Basildon and Thurrock taking full advantage of the Brexit opportunities.
Brexit opportunities.
Deputy Leader of the SNP, Murray
Brexit
Black.
opportunities. We had free ports.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I also wish to send my warm regards to the family of Paul O'Grady, the legendary drag queen, for all he's done for my community. I also want to congratulate Humza Yousaf as he becomes First Minister of Scotland, as the first Scots, Asian and Muslim to hold such an office. I'm sure the whole House will send his warm regards. Now, in recent days, video footage has emerged of the former Chancellor and the former chair of the 1922 committee offering their services for £60,000 on top of their MP's salary. The former Health Secretary offered his wisdom for £10,000 a day.
Going once.
Can I ask the Deputy Prime Minister, when he is inevitably booted out of office, what will his going rate be?
Hey.
Well, can I welcome her to
they're in charge.
The chamber? The system of declarations is there to ensure transparency and accountability, and of course the Conservatives backed tightening up those rules to make sure that there couldn't be any lobbying. But can I also join with, except to take her up on her tribute to the new First Minister of Scotland. The Prime Minister spoke to him last night. We welcome him to his place, and of course the government will want to work constructively with him in the best interest of the people of Scotland.
Murray Black.
During a cost of living crisis, as his colleagues eye up
thanks for the
barrels
super
of
chat,
cash from
Alexis.
fake companies, it's the people across these aisles that are being led by donkeys.
good old led by donkeys. Yes.
Now, the former Health Secretary also said that he would impart his wisdom for £1,500 an hour. Most nurses earn little above £15 an hour. Who does the Deputy Prime Minister think's best value for money and for the public?
Yes.
Well, I'm delighted that the majority of the health unions have accepted the pay settlement. We think that that's absolutely absolutely right. And she raises the issue, and of course we've worked with on a cross-party basis to curb the limits on second earnings. I noticed the benches
What
on
have
this
you done
side,
to curb second earnings? Look at Boris Johnson, he's earned millions in the last few months while still a sitting MP.
There's 10 shadow cabinet members on their benches who are taking earnings. In particular, the shadow foreign secretary looks like he certainly doesn't want to be under the limelight.
Oh, but we do it, but they do it too, so that makes it all right. It's actually a question for the SNP, mate. It wasn't from Labour.
They can talk about it. And as far as the Honourable Lady is concerned,
no second jobs.
We've done everything we can to make sure there's transparency.
Everything. Have you done everything, Dominic? Have you done everything? Have you? Have you done everything? No. Ban second jobs. End of.
It's very good to see you back in this place. Stoke-on-Trent has been announced as one of the levelling up partnerships, and this is on top of the investment we've already received through programmes like the Levelling Up Fund. And this is being delivered thanks to Conservatives working together in government and on the City Council.
Creepy weirdo.
Abby Brown. So
isn't he the type
would my
that
right
gets
honourable
the
friend
office
agree
party
with me?
and
If people
has a
want
bit
to
too much
continue
to
to
drink,
see the
makes a bit of a
levelling up
tit
of
of
opportunities
himself.
in
You know the
Stoke-on-Trent,
type, don't
they
you?
should vote Conservative in the local elections in May.
Where's Nadine Dorries?
My honourable friend is absolutely right. And after years of neglect under Labour, it's now the Conservatives, in no small part thanks to my honourable friend, who have been levelling up in Stoke-on-Trent. £11 million from the Shared Prosperity Fund, £12 million
Yeah, it was a
from the
foreign
Levelling
company
Up
that didn't
Fund,
exist,
£4
but that's
million
no problem
from
for the
Regional Grid
Tories.
Fund,
Absolutely.
And that's supporting over 500 jobs and £28 million of private investment.
Where is
That's the
She-Barb?
difference for the people of Stoke under a Conservative government.
She-Barb.
Sir Geoffrey Donaldson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Yesterday, the Secretary of State told us that the Security Service, MI5, have increased the terrorism threat level in Northern Ireland to severe. Responsibility for dealing with terrorism and national security rests with the Government of the United Kingdom, including in Northern Ireland. Will the Deputy Prime Minister assure me and the people of Northern Ireland that the Government will provide the Police Service of Northern Ireland and the Security Service with the resources that they need to counter this serious terrorist threat?
Right. Prime Minister.
Can I thank the honourable gentleman? He's absolutely right. Of course, the threat level is kept under constant review. We take
why
into
is it
account a
going
range
up?
of factors.
Might it
We'll be
be
very
people
familiar
like
with those.
the DUP
It's disappointing
stirring
that the threat
up
level has
racial,
gone up, but I think it is worth
sectarian
also
tensions,
saying
maybe
that
a
it
little
has
bit,
been in significant decline in terms of the number of
This is no United
terrorist
Kingdom. You're
attacks and
absolutely right.
attempted attacks
Plumbed
since
off.
the peak of the violence in 2009, 2010. Nonetheless, of course, we will make sure all the resources available for PSNI
Very
and
good,
the public are
Uni.
reminded to remain vigilant and report any suspicious behaviour or activity.
James Grundy.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. In my recent local survey as to whether Lee should break away from Wigan Council, I am very pleased to say that so far the survey shows 90% in favour, with only 3% opposed.
He's on a register, isn't he?
Please, I mean
look at
before
him.
you call for a second referendum, let me finish the question.
He's on a. He is definitely.
Does my right honourable friend agree that in the 50th year of our campaign for our town's independence, that this is the year to get Lexit done?
What? My honourable friend campaigns with typical gusto.
What was that? Sorry, I nearly swore there. What was that? What just happened? Please, tell me in the comments. What? What did that person want? What did they say?
The aspirations for Lake.
What? Oh, God, they're so creepy and weird.
Despite Royal Mail posting record profits, management are threatening to put it into administration. Can I ask what conversations government is having with Royal Mail and what it's doing to protect the Universal Postal Service?
Deputy Prime Minister.
It's an incredibly difficult time. Can I thank her for a question? Obviously, the pandemic has had a particular impact, but we're working very closely to make sure we can continue the service. And I'll make sure she gets a meeting with the relevant minister to discuss her concerns.
He looks old and young at the same time. How old is that guy? I don't know.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. On behalf of the people of Dewsbury, I would also like to pay tribute to Dewsbury's greatest daughter, Betty Boothroyd. She was sorely missed. This week I visited Ravenhall School in Dewsbury and Hollybank School in Murfield. Both do amazing work teaching children with special educational needs and disabilities. However, there is disparity in SEND standards in mainstream schools within my constituency. Would my right honourable friend join me in thanking the teachers and staff at Ravensall and Hollybank for everything they do? And could he also outline how we can ensure all our children are given the best chance in life, regardless of which school they go to?
Abolish private schools. Abolish private schools. That's the quickest, the best way you can do it. Dominic Raab didn't go to private school. He went to a state school, unlike most of the people in the cabinet.
Very difficult,
the vast majority in the cabinet.
And incredibly important for the life chances of those.
But it doesn't necessarily mean we're getting the best.
He'll know that in March we published the SEND and Alternative Provision Improvement Plan with new national standards, and that's backed up by an increased specialist provision locally with £2.6 billion going into it, and that includes opening 33 new special schools with a further 49 in the pipeline.
Douglas Chapman.
While the Prime Minister is absent, I hope he later gets a chance to watch the BBC dramatisation, The Brinksmat Robbery, which was held in the 1980s, where the police team assigned to the recovery of this gold only got back half of the gold that was stolen. That sum pales into insignificance compared with the measly 1% from the £1 billion of business grants that was lost to the fraud issued by the Prime Minister under his watch when he was Chancellor. The fingerprints show that this massive fraud now lies at 10 Downing Street. To quote your former fraud minister, Lord Bilton, when will this government get its act together and step up the recovery efforts on behalf of the taxpayer?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, the instance of fraud have become much more complex with the online instance, but he will have noted the massive increase in funding for tackling fraud in the recent budget, and we're confident that will give us the resources we need to tackle this often invisible but very damaging crime.
And escaped. Damaging crime that you guys oversaw.
The Deputy Prime Minister will know that stroke is the greatest cause of adult disability in this country and costs our economy some £26 billion, never mind destroying lives. Last year I met Dr. John Stevens, who was unable even to sit up unaided after a stroke, but because of emergency thrombectomy procedure,
Puny,
is now back
I
at
think
work
that it's
as a
more
GP
to do with
in
the fact
NHS.
that
Sadly,
they feel like they have to be
only
more
30% of eligible
outrageous
patients actually get thrombectomies.
because
Will
the
Deputy Prime Minister agree that we need greatly to increase the rollout of thrombectomy procedures? And would he perhaps, in the run-up to World Thrombectomy Day next month, join me in visiting a thrombectomy centre to see at first hand the difference it can make to lives and to getting people back into meaningful and productive work and enjoyment?
What are you going to do to improve people's lives who have had strokes? Absolutely nothing.
Honourable friend,
Trying to destroy the NHS.
Been a dedicated champion
trying to destroy the NHS.
I know from my own
Big care homes
constituency
all
how
privatised.
debilitating that can be,
Looked
and
at
the
people
impact
who've had
that has on
strokes
the
and
wider
thought,
families.
how can we make money out of
NHS
this?
England are
It's your
committed to
first
increasing
thought.
the delivery
It's
of
your first
mechanical
consideration.
thrombectomy, including the expansion of local services and local capital investment. And I'm sure we can arrange for a health minister to join him on a visit as he requests.
Sarah Olney.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. In a shocking article in Surrey Live last year, it was reported that staff at a GP practice in Walton were left in tears and crumbling under pressure due to the increased workload caused by staff shortages. Is it any wonder when there are 850 fewer GPs across the country since 2019? So what does the Deputy Prime Minister say to those patients left in pain and staff left in tears, including in his own constituency, due to this government's failed promise to recruit more GPs?
Like, can I say to her, any abuse against any GP in any practice across the country is absolutely wrong. We have to have zero tolerance of it. What I would just say to her is we've seen a large increase in GP appointments, over 29 million carried out since the start of the year. We're improving access to general practice with more support staff, also the technology, so more state-of-the-art telephone systems. The number of GPs in training is at record levels, and we're investing 1.5 billion to create 50 million more appointments a year by 2024.
If we go a bit faster, we'll get everybody in. Scott Benson.
Since 2019, this government has provided well over £300 million in extra funding for projects in Blackpool. However, there is always room for more. The Bond Street and Weather areas of my constituency are among the most deprived in the country and have been long forgotten by the Labour-led cabinet.
What?
Forgotten
by you.
£600,000
Labour have only been charged for 33
with a view to
of the last 150 years.
Regeneration package for these areas. Will the government look closely at the business case to see how this transformational project can be delivered for those communities?
Order, before the Deputy Prime Minister answers that, can everyone else with a prepared question just cut it in half? Just do the question. Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. There is no one more tenacious in campaigning for Blackpool than the Honourable Gentleman. I've seen it firsthand when I visited with him. I'm pleased that we delivered with the Levelling Up Secretary the £40 million of funding to relocate the Magistrates' Court and to allow the County Court complex to move. And I know that the Levelling Up Secretary will want to work with him.
Do you know what helped the people of Liverpool?
Aspirations
Being
for
part of
the
the
future.
Objective 1 funding, we got 1.9 billion.
Madam Deputy Speaker, a little girl in my constituency, only 9 years old, developed a bacterial infection just before Christmas, but thereafter very distressing symptoms occurred. OCD, she has intrusive thoughts, she hasn't washed, dressed or properly eaten since Christmas. We believe this to be Pan's Panda, and although health has evolved and I am seeking support for her, part of the lottery and the antipsychotic medication that is often given in this condition, despite the fact that broad-based antibiotics have been proven to work, is because the UK, no part of the UK, has implemented World Health Organisation ICD-11. Will the government commit to looking at this so that other children across the UK don't need to suffer in such a way?
Yes. Can I thank the Honourable Lady for raising what seems like a very an awful case, and my heart goes out to the family involved. If she'd like to write with me about it, I'll make sure she gets a full answer and a meeting with the Minister if that's required.
Barrier against
Caroline Nooks.
I agree. Being a Scouser, we have a little bit of a rivalry.
Young woman who only got justice when she was a victim of revenge porn because she could prove that the perpetrator intended to cause her distress. Most victims can't, and perpetrators are using platforms to use revenge porn for financial gain. That's not covered in the legislation.
Obviously,
Will
if
my
you
right
put
honourable
porn
friend
on the
commit
internet,
to looking at the case studies
there
Georgia
to
has
cause
compiled
distress.
and reviewing this legislation to strengthen it and make it more effective?
That'll take him another 20
Can
years.
I thank the Honourable Lady, my honourable friend, my right honourable friend, for all that she's done in this area. I know that there have been a considerable number of changes to the online safety bill, not least because of her forensic attention to detail. They will include the creation of a new base offence of sharing intimate images without consent that don't require proof of an intention to cause distress. And
We still have mad copyright laws in this country where if you take a photo of someone against their will, you own the copyright for that photo. They do not. How about you change that rule to obsess with copyright?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I don't know whether the Deputy Prime Minister ever met Lily Savage or has ever spent a night out at the Royal Vauxhall Tavern, but Lily was... I can take him sometime if he wants to go. I think that was a yes, actually, yeah. But Lily was performing at the height of the AIDS crisis in 1987. When police officers raided the pub, arrested her amongst others. They were wearing rubber gloves because supposedly they were protecting themselves from contracting HIV from touching gay men. Lily amazingly said at the time, "Oh, lads, you've come to do the washing up. That's great." Her alter ego, Paul O'Grady, campaigned acerbically and hilariously for elderly people, for care workers, against oppression of every kind. Isn't it time we in this country celebrated our naughty, hilarious drag queens and comics of every kind who inspire us to be a better and more generous nation?
Yes.
Can I thank the Honourable Gentleman? I totally agree with him.
Protest
And,
against
Paul
drag
Grayson
queens,
was,
reading stories.
Comic,
like
but
they're
he
gonna come and
also...
get you.
But Lily's... Paul O'Grady. But in terms of Lily Savage also, I think some of that comedy broke glass ceilings and broke boundaries in a way that certainly politicians would struggle to do. So I agree with that. I also think it shows how we need greater, more rambunctious free speech.
Oh, do we? Is that where the Tories have got rid of Mock the Week? Is that where the Tories have got rid of the MASH report on the BBC? Is that why they're trying to get rid of Have I Got News For You? Free speech, my arse. You just want to be a right-wing dick without idiot without any consequences. Dick is in short for Richard there, I'm not swearing.
Welfare as well. Madam Deputy Speaker, the biggest cause of death for children in this country under the age of 14 is cancer. As she knows, I've been calling for a childhood cancer mission to radically change how we detect,
I make this joke every week about how a Tory MP will inevitably stand up and say cancer's bad or children dying is bad, and then sometimes they put it together to say, does the right honourable gentleman agree with me that children dying of cancer is bad?
Will the Deputy Prime Minister restate the government's support for a childhood cancer mission?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Can I thank my honourable friend? I certainly will. And the suffering that any child must go through when they get a condition like cancer at such an early age, difficult to believe, and the pressure on the families, incredible. So I thank her for her work. The DHSC will publish a major condition strategy to look at improving outcomes and experience for all cancer patients, but including in particular children. I can't preempt that, but I know it will draw on previous work, including submissions from the various childhood cancer charities.
And again, I take tribute to the work that they do. It's bonkers.
Stephanie Peacock.
You can choose what you find attractive.
My 6-year-old constituent Daniel has cerebral palsy and mitochondrial disease. He has received palliative care from the Bluebell Wood Children's Hospital, who were forced to temporarily close last year due to staffing pressures. They have ongoing concerns about rising bills. Will the Deputy Prime Minister reassure Daniel's family that he will receive the palliative care he requires as and when he needs it?
That's a proper question.
I thank her for raising that very important case that she does.
Will you stop cutting services to the people of this country?
Resourcing, but also the care is there. And if again,
in order to line your own pockets with the nation's cash, or at least in the pockets of your mates.
Madam Deputy Speaker, the inclusion of the West Midlands as a hotspot trailblazer police force area in the antisocial
behaviour action plan is really good news. Could my right honourable friend outline, though, how communities such as those in my constituency, on the periphery of the West Midlands, will see and feel the positive difference that this will bring, and that we won't simply see a redirecting of our valuable resources by the Labour Police and Crime Commissioner into other parts of the West Midlands?
We'll have a look into it as a no.
Well, can I thank my right honourable friend? She raised a really important point. The antisocial behaviour action plan will help us crack down and make sure on antisocial behaviour.
Tories
and
will
make
say,
sure that those responsible
children who are ill is a bad thing, isn't it? And they'll go, yes, it
within
is.
48 hours, things like
the opposition,
cleaning
Labour,
up
the
litter
SFP,
and
they'll say,
graffiti. In terms
here's an example of
the
a
West
child who's
Midlands
suffering.
enhanced
They're suffering
hotspot,
because
I'm
of you.
delighted they'll be getting
Can you
that
improve
additional
things, please?
funding.
And they'll say,
She's
we'll
right
look
for
into
the PCCs to determine the precise allocation of funding, but I'm sure she'll make her representations in the usual powerful way.
Mary Glendon.
Madam Deputy Speaker. Announcing her retirement, North Tyneside-born Sarah Hunter MBE played her final game of rugby at the opening Women's Six Nations match at Kingston Park last Saturday. Sarah is the most capped international rugby player in the world, a true professional, great ambassador for her sport and an inspiration to so many. Will the Deputy Prime Minister join with me, the whole of North Tyneside and this House in thanking Sarah for all she has achieved for the country and her beloved sport of rugby?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Can I thank the Honourable Lady? She's absolutely right. I pay tribute to the trailblazing record of Sarah. I had the opportunity a few years ago to watch the England female rugby team. I was blown away, and we look forward to her and them going on to bigger and better things.
Richard Fuller.
Madam Deputy Speaker, will the government require that the East West Rail Company publish a full business case before the allocation of any more taxpayers' money to the project?
Oh, right. Okay.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you. It's a hugely important project with all sorts of opportunities, jobs, education, and a projected increase in economic output by over 100 billion by 2050. He's right that
so why
it
didn't you
needs
invest some
all
money
the
into
transparency
it? It's not going to cost you anything,
and
is it?
scrutiny.
If you're saying it's going to make 100 billion, then you can afford to spend money on it. Hate Tories. They go, oh, but we're spending this money because they're stupid. They think of like the budget as a household budget. They think of like owing money as like a mortgage or something, being in debt. It's not. It's completely different when you are government, and the Bank of England is effectively a branch of the government. You always find the money when you need to,
We'll
when
make
they
the
want
Deputy
to.
Prime Minister recommend it might befriend somebody from the working class.
Yes. How about that?
Prime Minister.
I'm not sure I got the full extent of the question, but the reality is we're doing, and you can see that
well,
with
at least
the
Rob went to
energy
state
price
school,
guarantee,
I don't know if that was the best
free
question to ask someone
childcare and the national living wage. That we are
one of the
supporting
few
everyone in this country, particularly those
bench
on the lowest paid
parliamentarians who
jobs.
didn't go to a private school.
And the final question, Alicia Cairns.
This week, Rutlander Andrew Osborne solo sailed 3,000 miles, taking 78 days across the Atlantic Ocean. He raised £142,000 for cardiac risk in the young after his daughter Amy died in her sleep, age 25, being discovered by her sister the next morning. 1 in 12 children die every week of undiagnosed heart conditions. So can my right honourable friend please reassure me what we are doing to increase the diagnosis of undiagnosed heart conditions in children and young people?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Can I thank my honourable friend for raising this, and our heartfelt condolences go to the family of Amy, but likewise our congratulations go to Andrew on an incredible feat. The fact that 12 young people die every week from an undiagnosed heart condition is something we all want to see an end to. There's more resource going in, there's more research going in, and I'll arrange for a meeting between her and the relevant minister.
Thank you.
Right, there we go. Okay, right, that's it for Prime Minister's questions for today. If it would let me close the window, that would be great. So thanks for joining me. This is the first of Labour Social's own Safe for Work PMQs, because I used to do a show, which some of you might have seen, called Not Safe for Work PMQs, but now I'm trying to be a little bit more grown up in my old age and actually make things a little bit more accessible to people, because I understand, you got kids in the house, running about, or you got your other office workers. If you're in an office watching this or listening to this, then you don't want to hear someone necessarily effing and jeffing all over the shop. So Houghton125, Plum Duff. Cheers, Graham. We are no better off after that. No, we're really not, Plum Duff. I'm sorry. I can't speak for the quality of our politicians, especially the ones in the Conservative Party. But I will say thank you very much for joining me. There should be more content going up tomorrow on the Labour Social YouTube page, which you might be watching this on. If you're not, it is youtube.com/labsoc. And there's already a bunch of stuff on there for you to watch. And the amount of things I've got in the can to put online is growing every day. So if you want to take part in all this, please stay tuned. We have much more exciting stuff coming along the way, and it will involve you to get involved and to actually be able to ask questions of politicians in real time, which will be really fun and interesting and a little bit different from what I'm used to. Anyway, okay, so thanks very much for watching. I'll leave you with a list of my wonderful patrons. Thank you to everyone who's watched this so far. I will be setting up a new Patreon this week, which is just going to be exclusively for Labour Social. Now, anyone who is already a patron of mine automatically gets access to the top tier. No matter what you pay, you get access to the top tier of Labour Social's Patreon, which includes access to Discord server, and also invitations to live events when they start, hopefully in a couple of months' time, where we'll actually be meeting up somewhere in the country, perhaps not London, because everyone meets up in London. But yeah, okay, so until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow morning at 9:30 for another episode of Morning Brew. And until then, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.